He's a
Some fans insist that Doom 64 is the
Fucking Green
true
Rangers.
sequel.
I'm not there. I'm going to go get the shit.
Midway Games' development of the N64
I don't die
exclusive,
getting this
resulting in an
shit.
interesting but ultimately inconsequential
Did you?
side entry in
I
the
hear.
series.
I got voices near me. I feel like Randy Orton.
Doom 64 isn't hurt too much by its titular console's limitations, but there are fewer enemies thanks to small cartridge sizes, and the reduced animation frames on the shotguns really robs them of their kick. Worst of all, Midway couldn't get multiplayer working despite 4-player split-screen Doom deathmatches being a perfect fit for the system that gave us Still, on the whole, the game looks great. Doom 64 has a uniquely bleak, gothic vibe with a gorgeous colored lighting system that's impressively sophisticated for the era.
I'm the one going for shit.
Speed metal,
Where's my
the
team?
soundtrack is a dark ambient drone.
I'm butt booty naked out here.
There's no HUD, no grimacing Doom guy face, only subtle numbers and letters rendered in bleary N64 textures. The gameplay is largely the same, though a new scripted event system creates neat opportunities for map design. Doom 64 seems like the game Carmack's co-owners were afraid it was going to make. More Doom, slightly different. It's just not different enough to warrant a higher place on the list. Doom 64 is a fun, fascinating,
yoga.
I'll ride along.
32 new levels designed in-house by id, a bunch of new enemies, and
I should have that cereal. I guess. God damn.
To make Doom 2 the highest-selling software program of 1994.
Got a purple gun. Fuck y'all. Alright, got the purple gun. Now come over here.
Old monsters are reconfigured in clever ways, while fresh faces like the Revenant and Archvile add more complexity to demon distribution. Your arsenal only has one addition, but it's a weapon that would come to define Doom, the Super Shotgun. So, with all this great new stuff, shouldn't Doom 2 be a straight upgrade to the original? It almost is,
I just see his body flatline.
Just doesn't hit the same. Doom 2 was billed as hell on Earth, but the aging tech couldn't really produce convincing suburbs or downtown the same way Duke Nukem's build engine.
The reason why I'm laughing, wait, where are you?
Doom 2 feels less of a journey
I was
than Doom. Shareware, the first game,
he tried to run up on me, and you just ran him over.
Clear episodes.
You ain't shit.
You ain't shit. Path of destruction across the moons of Mars
we gotta
until
go.
thy flesh is consumed by hell itself. As a boxing game from the get-go, Doom 2 is presented as a barely connected 32-level megawatt. The game supposedly depicts a full-on demon invasion of Earth, but this is mostly conveyed through 3 different skyboxes. Doom 2 has some great maps and lots of innovative twists on the formula, but on the whole, it's a less cohesive and satisfying package than the first game. At the time, map quality didn't matter quite as much. Fans had already been sharing their own custom levels en masse, passed around as WAD files via floppy disks and 28 kilobaud modems. Doom 2 is almost more notable as a platform than as a standalone title.
Green needs us.
It gave modders and wadders a chance to shine and even go legit. A group called Team TNT created 2 megawads that impressed id so much that they bought the rights and slapped them together for retail as Final Doom. Originally considered as the official 3rd game in the series, today these maps and others have been fully incorporated into the canon by modern releases of Doom 2. It makes the game a more comprehensive product, but that's not enough to elevate it above our next and most recent entry.
You got my head butt booty naked. Loadout. That's a loadout right there. Loadout right there.
Different from Doom 2.
I need that. I need that. Yes, I need my loadout.
Sharp turn away from the neon frenzy of Doom Eternal into a grim and gothic new setting with drastically altered gameplay to match.
Yeah, I got my
Fight is
loadout.
more than just a marketing slogan. It's the only way
I'll
you're
take my
going
gun
to
back,
take
though.
down some bosses and batter enemies.
Don't feel
Melee
like-
combat
Get
means getting up close and personal with monsters, trading mace blows
Don't run,
and
bitch.
shotgun
Don't
blasts
run.
in a boxing match from hell.
Mother.
Projectiles move more slowly, choking the battlefield with
Oh, dropping in the AO.
broke bullet hell shmups and serious sand.
Oh, damn. He's toast.
Glory, taking a back seat to the new rhythms of the Dark Ages'
thank you.
combat.
I have a strike already.
The most impactful new
You can grab it if you
action
want
game
it.
formula is the parry, which allows the player to deflect green attacks with the integral new shield saw. It's the backbone around which the game is designed, and while it may not click with everybody,
He's
once
coming.
you're
Teammate's
locked
coming.
in, there's nothing quite like charging buckler first across the battlefield to smash some skulls. The Dark Ages brings a few firsts to the franchise, like friendly NPCs fighting alongside the Slayer, and difficulty sliders to make the series more accessible.
playing.
It's also the first game since Doom 64 to lack any kind of multiplayer. The Slayer trilogy's online components may have been a noble but largely perfunctory effort. id decided to ditch it entirely and focus on making the most compelling campaign they could, exchanging multiplayer and snap map for dragon riding and giant mechs. You have to give modern id credit. They just will not make the same game twice. Doom Eternal is everything a fan of Doom 2016 would expect from a sequel, and while the vibe is different from its predecessor, the whole experience feels more vibrant and alive. The Doom franchise isn't exactly known for its awe-inspiring vistas and diverse biomes, but Eternal impressively mixes snow levels and Baroque ivory fortresses
we're in the
with
circle.
usual tech bases and fleshy hellscapes. We're not used
Yeah,
to seeing this
legendary.
kind of environmental variety in Doom, and it's a refreshing change of pace.
Some legendary fan.
When it comes to combat, Doom Eternal asks
Oh, yeah,
a
outside the
lot
circle.
more of you than 2016. Ammo is
Got it.
much more scarce, forcing you to juggle through most of your weapons in nearly every fight. Choosing the right gun for the right enemy and exploiting their weak spots is essential, though some fans argue that the Marauders, dark Doom Guy counterparts with a limited vulnerability window, are a bridge too far for the power fantasy.
Warning. All armed personnel, the mortally challenged have entered the compound. Evacuation is advised.
Doom Eternal's biggest flaw, perhaps, is that it's doing
I'm
too
tougher,
much.
guy.
Doom Slayer has new guns
Get it,
and
can I get
engines
it?
to deal with, a meat hook to yank yourself across the battlefield,
I got
and a
goons.
shoulder cannon with grenades and bombs and fire belches that are crucial for survival, on top of an avalanche of additional collectibles, resources, and upgrade trees. Even the Slayer himself has gotten a little too big for his armored green britches, having somehow come into possession of a massive outer space fortress between games, a vast hub to explore that has plenty of great Easter eggs and secrets, but also a lot of locked doors and samey looking hallways.
Oh,
to
stupid,
get
why would you
lost
lay
in.
down? 'Cause I feel about to
Speaking
pop
of
you in the
getting
ass.
lost, Doom Eternal suffers under a sheer mountain of lore. Endless paragraphs of indecipherable sci-fi fantasy with more proper nouns than a phone book are at your bloody fingertips. To some, it's a welcome addition that makes the series that much richer. For others, it's an albatross around the neck of Doom's action-first ethos. Start shooting as soon as the screen melts. It's an excellent sequel, superior to its predecessor in many ways, but as a total package, it falls just slightly short of what came before. Doom 2016 is the platonic ideal.
Oh, in your life, don't
It
say.
marries the kinetic and aesthetic purity of the original with a winking, self-aware tone
Yes,
that
come on,
evokes
Kenny.
not just the first game's hurt me plenty attitude, but society's perception of the series. This is the Doom we envisioned in our adolescent brains. It's the Doom of the infamous 90s comic, the ultra-violent nightmare that Jack Thompson and Joe Lieberman warned us about, and it is glorious. But Doom 2016 almost didn't happen. Marty Stratton and Hugo Martin salvaged Doom 4 from the shores of development hell by stripping it into a back-to-basics gleeful.
It don't matter what you do, boy. You lay down, take a piss.
Rekindles the lost soul of the series. It's no coincidence that the retro boomer shooters comeback began right around Doom 2016. The aggressive, push-forward gameplay has you leaping onto cacodemons in mid-air as Mick Gordon's impossibly detuned guitars belch out riffs of pure ice. It's here we first see the glory kills, expanded on in future sequels, but never quite as elegant as their debut. Keep it simple is the operative phrase
Oh, we gotta go.
2016, and sometimes to its detriment.
We gotta go.
Games, there's little incentive
We
to
gotta
sell
go.
your weapons. It's easy to let the rockets or the SSG carry you to the Spider Mastermind. Still, the bare-bones approach is appreciated, particularly when it comes to the plot. It was John Carmack who famously compared video game stories to those of X-rated movies. Quote, "It's expected to be there, but not important." Doom 2016's less is more approach is extremely refreshing after the dense metal hurlant nightmares of its sequels. The storytelling is never really bad in Eternal or the Dark Ages, but also never quite as funny as the Doomslayer seething with impatient rage as exposition drones on. It took some huge guts to name the 2016 reboot simply Doom, but that very confidence is what propels this game to greatness. There's only one shooter in the world that could possibly top Doom 2016. But
Don't trust Doom, no
evaluation of Doom would be complete without a tip of the hat to the legions of modders and map designers who have truly made the game their own. Carmack designed the Doom engine to be easily
I had gunfire in front of the back.
assets conveniently packaged in files called WADs.
Oh, he's in a vehicle.
Where's all
Shit.
the data?
I
This
got back,
enabled
T.
everything from custom levels to total conversions. You can
don't
play
like it.
Zelda
I'll do
in
it.
Doom. Visit Jerry
Oh, the guy right, hold on, the guy right there, the guy right there,
The possibilities were limitless, especially once the engine went open source.
One thing.
Brutal Doom and Sulaco
One shot at me.
modern, ancient id tech. MyHouse.wad uses the engine's infamous quirks to weave a non-Euclidean liminal nightmare. Doom is an awesome open source success story, and the community and careers it's inspired over the decades is a huge part of the series' legacy. The original Doom has more than earned its spot on the Mount Rushmore of first-person shooters. Anyone can pick up the game today, whether through a fan-made source port or an official re-release, and immediately understand the assignment. Run, gun, rip, and tear. Find keys and snag power-ups to keep Doom Guy alive as he stares bullets through your soul from the UI. There's no mouse look in the original Doom. Aiming on the Y-axis literally doesn't matter, and you can hit that imp on a ledge above you as long as it's centered on your gun. Doom Guy cannot jump, and his only interaction with the world besides shooting, punching, and chainsawing is a single fuse bunch that will span endlessly as you search each legendary map for secret doors. To say Doom has aged is to say Tetris or Pac-Man has
We gotta
Its
go.
simplicity is its greatest strength.
We gotta
There's
get
almost
moving.
no friction between you and the coveted
Why you
flow
going
state
to
towards
die?
which all action games aspire. Doom's kinetic
Only the
appeal
ammo.
makes it immortal.
Yeah.
Released as shareware, anyone with a working PC was free to play the first episode of Doom, from the iconic first moments of
I got ammo.
1 to beating the Bruiser brothers in Phobos Anomaly. You could mail a check to id if you wanted
I'm good.
more, but the sheer accessibility and availability of Knee Deep in the Dead's 9
Kenny, were you
perfect
muted the
levels
whole time?
all but assured Doom's dominance. Doom became
muted
shorthand
ass.
for gaming itself. The moral panic over video game violence resulted in
nigga.
pundits and politicians
You
alike
nigga.
warning parents of the gory, demonic
We gotta
slaughter
go.
simulator warping their children's minds.
I know.
leading the
I know we
shooter
gotta
to
go.
real-world tragedies. It's a sad footnote in an
I
otherwise
ran into a guy right now,
unparalleled
running right
success
straight to
story
him.
and the
Oh my
formative
god.
moment in
Ah,
gaming history that help shape
Oh,
a
there's a guy in here.
developing industry.
Seriously, there's a guy
At
in
the
here.
start of every new project, the current developers at id play through
Better go.
the original Doom
Better
to
go.
refamiliarize themselves
Alright,
with
eh.
its brilliance and look for
Can
interesting
it really?
ways
Really?
to
You're
expand
asking to
the
die.
formula. Every single entry on this
Alright, I
list
get
is
it.
in some way
Alright,
a
eh.
response to the first game, either trying to recapture its glory or
I ran behind the
recreate
wall
what
and
makes it
shit
fun.
like I
Some
stole or
games
something.
Others have faltered, but they're all chasing
Oh,
after
shit.
perfection that was already achieved in 1993. Doom is still the best.
Reloading.
No, nigga. Good day to you, Sug. Oh, I forgot I got a mask on my face.
Since its reveal, Hell is Us
Honestly,
has been
forgot I had a
something
mask
of an
on.
enigma. As an action RPG that hones in on detective-style investigations within a hauntingly alluring world filled with weird monsters to explore, it's a type of game that tasks players
Oh,
to
he's
meet
outside, he's outside, he's outside. Right here.
unorthodox terms. For its developers, Hell is Us
Who threw-
also
who threw a
represents a game
grenade?
that pushes back against contemporary
You're
trends
throwing
in
a grenade.
gaming that places its
Run,
story
Kenny,
and
run!
gameplay in a neat package
Run!
and instead trusts
Kenny, you got a
players
mask?
to piece
Oh,
together
it's a
just
dead
what
end.
the hell is
Oh,
going
shit.
on within the
This way,
corrupted
Kenny.
land of Hadia and how to
Kenny.
survive it.
Get
How
it!
you managed to get here,
Right.
and I don't care.
After playing
Run!
several hours of the opening of Hell is Us, along with some mid-game dungeon
know
crawling,
this
I
dude
came
coming.
away with a clearer idea of developer Rogue Factor's new
There's one at
weird
the top.
influence take on an action-adventure game that pushes players to mind the finer details of the world and maintain poise during some of the intense engagements. So far, Hell is Us is a game that makes
Good
charting out
neighbors,
into a
take
familiar
from
but
me
deeply
there.
world feel captivating.
Got him.
Hell
Killed
is
your
Us
ass.
takes place in an
I
alternate
killed you.
1990s.
Remember the
where
name?
fictional European country
The name's
Hadia is in the
Chad.
midst of a civil war following the events of a mysterious supernatural incursion known as the Calamity.
moving.
Playing as
Where?
Remy, a United
Roger,
Nations
under them.
peacekeeper and former resident of Hadia, he's detained by a mysterious organization following
Bad
his
guy.
mission into Hadia to find his parents. With the organization and its leader pressing down on Remy, he has to recall the fateful decisions he
Shoot
made
him.
with the
Shoot
surviving
him.
factions and how he fought off the
Shoot him.
seemingly otherworldly creatures known as Hollow Walkers.
Get out of there. Get out of there.
Of Hell is Us reminded me of a mix between Death Stranding and Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time, which focuses on
moving in.
immersing players into a world that takes a sudden and violent turn to the weird, and with a seemingly unreliable protagonist recounting his interpretation of events. Hell is Us fully commits to its premise of a bleak setting and being a stranger in an even stranger
Kenny.
land, one that feels familiar with
I got
its
him.
backwards and small towns clinging
I
on to
got your
survival,
six,
but
nigga.
feels so disorientingly
I got your
strange with
six.
the rise of Hollow Walkers
That's what I'm
and
known
portals
for.
that
Out of
turn
gas.
the European countryside
His teammate's
into an
coming.
alien landscape.
They're either brave or stupid to have made a run for it. My money's on stupid.
What immediately drew me into Hell is Us was its unusual
give a shit about
approach
that. I
to
don't need that.
storytelling and immersing players within its strange
Move
world.
it up.
The sense of mystery is palpable in Hell is Us.
I'm
and
in
I
the
was
circle.
constantly walking into areas that had grotesque monsters or strange anomalies that drew
got
my
you
eye.
ever.
I was especially taken in by the plight of the surviving characters, who struggled to endure in their ramshackle sanctuaries held together by duct tape and dwindling hope. This story
Where?
very much chucks you into the deep end
Head
with
for
its
my
narrative
waypoint.
and gameplay flow
As
as we
in,
explore
yeah.
the different open zones
I can't.
filled with their puzzles
Six.
and points of interest.
Why is this happening?
What I found most intriguing, and what I
Am I
suspect
shooting-
many
Tim ain't
players
shooting
will
somebody?
have to
I
come
know.
to grips with, is how Hell is Us takes a largely
Tim ain't good.
guided approach to gathering intel and charting out to complete quests.
He's right there,
with
Kenny.
no
Hold on.
maps or waypoints to help you in your trek. This very 90s adventure game approach puts the onus on players to listen to the details that the surviving characters bring up in conversations and read the well-organized intel from Remy's personal datapad. It's the type of game that demands a certain level of attention, or else you can find yourself wandering at length to figure out
Here,
where
shit,
to
Kenny.
go next.
How the hell did you find us?
Warzone is a particular example that inspired the development team for its approach to a largely unguided adventure game that gradually expands in scope as more players use their growing knowledge. Speaking with creative director Jonathan Jacques Belletet, the approach the devs took with Hell Is Us was about trusting players with figuring out the mystery and embracing the campaign's more methodical approach to progression.
You must be lost to wander around Sinedra Forest.
Get that, get that. Shield up, shield up.
Is equal parts an investigation game and an action RPG, and there's a surprising
I'm still in the circle.
I'm still on the desolate road. On the surface, Hell Is Us has the makings of a Souls-like, and it certainly has some of those elements under the hood, but it goes in a direction with power progression that's more about managing your poise and picking out the best moments to strike against enemies that can easily take you out. Some of my favorite moments came using my powered-up weapons to dish out some chunky damage while sending in my drone to stun other enemies off in the wings.
I'm leaving him behind. Fuck him. I'm just playing. No, don't fuck him. Oh, you set that up cool.
The Hollow Walkers in Hell Is Us are some of the most visually distinct and unnerving video game enemies I've seen in a long time. They're highly aggressive and can come in large numbers. Still, things get more unnerving once you face off against the powered-up walkers that can summon support enemies who are very much giving the angels from Neon Genesis Evangelion vibes. Once those enemies appear,
Kenny.
you'll have to switch up to take them down fast before you can finish off the main walker.
Hello, Kenny. Hello.
Much like a Souls game, stamina management is critical for
What's that back door?
survival, and I found myself constantly having to be decisive with my skills so as not to overextend myself against unforgiving enemies. One interesting wrinkle that took me time to get used to was the fact that health and stamina share a single bar, with your health being your primary source. The more health you lose in a fight, the less stamina you'll have to fight. While you have limited health items, the Limbic Pulse skill is the best way to help you stay in the fight. Similar to Neo 1 and 2, activating the Pulse immediately after seeing a glow around Remy will instantly restore health and stamina based on the attacks you dish out. It's a very risk-reward approach to combat, and depending on how intense the combat gets, it can be easy to forget to hit the Pulse and lose out on health. I found the engagements surprisingly challenging and unrelenting, yet I still felt good about scraping through once I figured out how best to clear out the foes. Combat took the most time for me to get used to, as it's far more survival and resource-driven than Dark Souls or Elden Ring.
I couldn't heal.
So unforgiving that I felt
Damn it!
outmatched by the numbers and aggression.
I hate him. He didn't die.
Still,
I hate him.
Our
teammate, man, he should stay with us.
He likened their approach to combat would be active boxing, which is also about managing stamina and dealing with decisive blows when you.
I'm always having folks 6. Look at having folks 6. Shit. Nobody cares about that. I don't care about that. Can I not get out of it?
Bizarre mix of fantasy and science fiction. Along with
Nobody cares about you.